Welcome back to Bogart on Movies. As we're preparing for our new season, we revisit this week my analysis of some of the classics and other great movies we discussed on this program in the past few months. And we will, of course, have some new Carla's Campy picks and answer your emails and letters. So right now, sit back and enjoy again our look at pure Hollywood gold. It's a Wonderful Life, Sweet Smell of Success, Ben-Hur, Midnight Cowboy, and more. Each week during this segment, I'll be talking about one classic movie. Classic in this case being a film more than 50 years old. Joining me from time to time is Professor Carol Watson. She teaches film at Lynn University in Boca Raton and has worked on movies in Hollywood as a scriptwriter. Now it's the holiday season, so what else but from 1946, Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life.
Hey, what's going on around here? Well, this ought to be Martini's place. Look, who are you?
I told you, George, I'm your guardian angel.
Yeah, I know. You told me that. What else are you? What are you? You a hypnotist?
No, of course not.
Well, then why am I seeing all these strange things?
Don't you understand, George? It's because you were not born.
Well, if I wasn't born, who am I?
You're nobody. You have no identity.
Oh, what do you mean, no identity? My name's George Bailey.
There is no George Bailey. You have no papers, no cards, no driver's license, no 4F card, no insurance policy. They're not there either.
What?
Zuzu's petals. You've been given a great gift, George. A chance to see what the world would be like without you.
Now, wait a minute here. Oh, this is some sort of a funny dream I'm having. So long, mister. I'm going home.
Home? What home?
Now, shut up! Cut it out! You're crazy. That's what I think. You're screwy. You're driving me crazy, too. I'm seeing things here. I'm going home and see my wife and family. You understand that? And I'm going home alone.
Well?
Mother.
Mother? What do you want?
Mother, this is George. I thought sure you'd remember me.
George who? If you're looking for a room, there's no vacancy.
Mother, listen, please help me. Something terrible's happened to me. I don't know what it is. Something's happened to everybody. Please let me come in and keep me here until I get over it.
Get over what? I don't take in strangers unless they're sent here by somebody I know.
What? Well, I know everybody you know. Your brother-in-law, Uncle Billy.
You know him?
Well, sure I do.
When'd you see him last?
Today, over at his house.
It's a lie. He's been in the insane asylum ever since he lost his business. And if you ask me, that's where you belong.
Jimmy Stewart. And when Frank Capra was asked about Jimmy Stewart, he said that basically he left Jimmy Stewart alone. But how great a director was Frank Capra?
Yeah, he not only was a great director of actors, but he was a great director of camera. I would call his camera direction dynamic, in that he really used the frame in terms of the background and the foreground. And in that last clip, when you see Jimmy Stewart walk from the background into this tight close-up and look around, we really get to experience with him the realization that he's in a nightmare. And Capra does this a couple of other times in the film also, when the character of George Bailey has this realization that is stopping him from fulfilling his dream. Capra had worked with Stewart on two films earlier in the 30s. He had worked with Stewart on You Can Take It With You and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And they both had been in the war. Capra making documentaries by the title of Why We Serve.
Right, the war was pretty important for this. I mean, the movie was made in 45 and came out in 46. The war was pretty important to get those two together in the movie.
Yeah, because Stewart's career had been in this hiatus of 5 years while he was a combat fighter, and he was looking for a project to do. And Capra didn't want to do a war movie. He wanted to do something else. And RKO had this property called The Greatest Gift, and they had tried to make like 3 screenplays out of it, and it just went nowhere. So Capra got wind of this, and he started with 3 other directors a company called Liberty Films, and this was their first project. And it was really an independent film company, and he was able to do what he really wanted to do and tell this kind of story, which was a story about a guy who thinks his life is worthless because financially he's really in trouble, and then realizes through this experience that he has that he's touched many other lives in the town that he grew up in and stayed in.
Now, when you think of It's a Wonderful Life, you think of the bell ringing and an angel and happiness and George Bailey and Donna Reed, who I love, was great in this movie.
Great.
But it's really not a feel-good movie, not a fun Christmas kind of movie.
Yeah, well, part of it is a feel-good movie, but part of it is really tremendously dramatic and full of anguish and despair. But it starts with George Bailey wanting to kill himself. And then we see what has built up to this and the frustrations that he's had. So it really has the poignancy and gravitas of a true drama, while at the same time it's a fairy tale and a fantasy film. Now, that Capra could bring those 3 genres together and make it work, I think that's a miracle.
Well, thank you very much, Carol. I think it's a
welcome.
miracle, too.
Thank you for having me.
For a classic movie pick this week, take a look at 1957's gritty, in the proverbial gutter, Sweet Smell of Success. I love this movie. It stars Burt Lancaster. I fell for him as an actor when I saw him in his brilliant Oscar-winning role as Elmer Gantry. He stars in this film as uber-powerful New York gossip columnist J.J. Hunsaker, and Tony Curtis as the scraping-the-bottom press agent Sidney Falco. If you had any doubt about Tony Curtis's talent, you won't after you see this movie. And Lancaster, well, he was Lancaster at his best.
May I ask you a naive question, Mr. Falco? Exactly how does a press agent work?
Well, answer the man, Sidney. He's trying to take you off the hook.
You just saw a good example of it, Senator. A press agent eats a columnist dirt and is expected to call it manna.
But don't you help columnists by furnishing them with items?
Sure. A columnist can't do without us, except our good and great friend JJ forgets to mention that. You see, we furnish him with items.
What, some cheap, gruesome gags?
You print them, don't you?
Yes, with your clients' names attached. That's the only reason the poor slobs pay you, to see their names in my column all over the world. Now I make it out you're doing me a favor?
I didn't say
The day I can't get along without a press agent's handouts, I'll close up shop and move to Alaska lock, stock, and barrel.
The movie revolves around Falco, whose business is failing, whose clients are dwindling, and who will do anything to get back on top. He can't get his clients into Hunsaker's gossip column. Falco is done, so he agrees to do some real dirty work for Hunsaker, to set up the boyfriend of Hunsaker's sister, that's jazzman Steve Dallas, to break the two up. By the way, you'll recognize Steve Dallas. He's played by Martin Milner, who you'd see later on TV as Pete Malloy in Adam 12. Remember? One Adam 12, one Adam 12. Those of us a little older would also remember him as Todd Stiles in the TV series starring Broderick Crawford, Route 66.
Looks like a wedding. You look lovely, dear.
Steve, you've met my brother?
Of course. Frank? Well, son, looks like you went out and got a packet of trouble for yourself, hmm?
You've been very kind about it, Mr. Hunsaker.
Give Susie credit for that. I took her word there was nothing to the smear. As a matter of fact, I'll have plenty to say about smears on my show today. And that's why I'd like your personal assurance, too.
Mr. Hunsaker, there is nothing to the smear. You have my sincere word.
I'll buy that. Now, you do me a favor. Be good to my kid sister.
Yeah, she's had a lot of trouble for a kid.
Susie has her girlish secrets. But in her heart of hearts, I imagine, Dallas, she fancies you in an uncommon way.
And there are a couple of cameos to look for as well. Famous American playwright and co-screenwriter Clifford Odets, who also went before Congress in 1952, as did my father, during the Senator Joe McCarthy-led communist witch hunt hearings. He stars as a man outside a theater. Odets also, by the way, had an affair with Fay Wray of King Kong fame. There she is. Talk about film noir, this is one of the best. And my favorite, best line?
I like Harry, but I can't deny he sweats a little.
Don't try to come back or I'll throw you out again.
Just a minute. My heart's in here and I paid you.
Leave him alone!
I love this dirty town.
J.J. Hunsaker, Burt Lancaster, I love this dirty town. Lancaster does it a lot better than I do. Great line, great stuff, great movie. Our weekly look at classic film is a movie of true epic proportions, one that is on everyone's list of favorite movies and that also contains one of the most legendary scenes in movie history, 1959's Ben-Hur.
Great victory. You were the people's one true God for the time being. Permit us to worship. I crown their God.
The 9-minute chariot race remains one of the most legendary scenes in movie history. In fact, star Charlton Heston took weeks of chariot lessons and actually, except for the most dangerous sequences, drove the chariot in the film. There were even doctors and an infirmary on the set to take care of any injuries. By the way, there were no serious injuries to either the actors or the horses. This film is big in every way. At the time, the sets were the biggest ever. The movie was the most expensive ever. There were more than 1 million feet of film shot, even though the final cut was just 19,000. The musical score, more than 2 hours long, remains the longest ever for a motion picture. And the payoff? Well, its 11 Academy Awards remains tied for the most ever, with Titanic and Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. The director, William Wyler, Mrs. Miniver, Best Years of Our Lives, Roman Holiday, Funny Girl, is one of the most influential directors in Hollywood history. Look at this scene where Ben-Hur meets Jesus for the first time. You can feel the emotion and the power of this scene. And notice, you never see Jesus' face.
Wait! No water for him.
God, help me.
You! I said no water for him! All right, on your feet, all of you. Get them on their feet. Back in line, you dog! On your feet. Get them going. You there! Back to your place! Back to your place! Forward, you dogs!
That was so powerful. Also, during the opening titles, MGM's lion mascot does not roar. That was Wyler's choice, and MGM agreed because of what he felt was the religious nature of the film. Finally, Heston, of course, is Ben-Hur. But here are some of the actors who turned down the role. Burt Lancaster, Marlon Brando, Paul Newman, even Rock Hudson. Can you imagine any of these guys as Ben-Hur? No, it's Charlton Heston. Anyway, you want great movie making? This is it. Enjoy. Now let's check the Bogart on Movies mailbox. Pat in Lake Worth asks, what movie stars came by my parents' house when I was growing up? And who do I remember? Well, let me see. Spencer Tracy, Katie Hepburn, Nunnally Johnson, the great screenwriter, Richard Burton came by, Sinatra, Sammy Cahn, who wrote Three Coins in the Fountain, a lot of Sinatra's stuff. There were a lot of people that came by, and I remember a lot of them as well. So thanks for that question. It brings back memories for me. You can email me, send me your comments and questions to stevebogart@wxel.org and include your name and your hometown. Now let's have some fun with Carla's Campy Pick. And for this, we go back to 1960, the beginning of the atomic age and the search for the atomic age vampire.
You will freeze as you watch a warped scientist become transformed into a godless beast when his bloody scalpel probes the forbidden secrets of a woman's flesh. In Atom Age Vampire, you will flame to the stark ritual of a beautiful girl's last searing dance, as tragedy forever mars her loveliness, leaving her to face a world of terror.
I give you my word that I will restore your face, restore all your beauty.
You will cringe as the demented doctor experiments with a girl's trusting innocence. But to possess the living miracle wrought by his twisted genius, he must forever sacrifice his soul to the cunning gods of evil.
I'll transplant directly from another human being.
A mad creature born of the atomic age, now shackled to a world of rotting bodies and violent death. A sadist, a criminal, a depraved animal, more ferocious than Jekyll, more monstrous than Frankenstein, more bloody than Dracula.
Fire a volley through the window pane.
You will gasp as lust and madness stalk the dark and screaming night.
During this segment, I get to pick out one movie I love made in the last 50 years. It's not old enough to be classic Hollywood, and you've probably seen each one, but maybe not for a long time, and each one is worth seeing again. Take a little trip down memory lane with the George Lucas classic-to-be 1973's American Graffiti.
American Graffiti. Where were you in '62?
Grab that special one and jump into your candy-colored custom or your screaming machine, cruise downtown and catch American Graffiti.
American Graffiti. Baby, what's that?
It's a movie.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Go back in time.
Where were you in '62?
Is that you in that beautiful car? Jeez, what a waste of machinery.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight.
What did you say? Someone wants me. Someone roaming the streets wants me.
And I bet you're smart enough to get us some brew.
A ballpoint pen, a pint of Old Harper.
Okay, you got an ID for the liquor?
Nah, I left it in the car.
You'll have to get it before.
Oh, well, I forgot the car.
We're finally getting out of this turkey camp. You just can't stay 17 forever.
The movie's set in one summer, 1962, in the lives of a group of American teenagers, some off to college, some off to the very beginning of the Vietnam War. Richard Dreyfuss, Harrison Ford, Suzanne Summers, Ron Howard, and a bunch more star, and it has a 50s soundtrack that will get you out of your seats. So sit back with someone you love and take a peek at a time long gone. For my pick this week, I'm going to highlight one of my favorite actors and a great movie for the whole family. I'm talking about the king of cool, acting icon Steve McQueen and 1963's Great Escape.
Hold on to yourself, Bartlett. You're 20 feet short. The hole is right here in the open. The guard is between us and the lights.
The movie, directed by John Sturges, is based on an actual escape from a German POW camp during World War II. It was actually filmed in Germany, and it co-starred James Garner, Richard Attenborough, Donald Pleasance, James Coburn, and more. But McQueen stole the show. It's easy to see why this cemented his status as a superstar. And the motorcycle scene? That was McQueen doing the stunt himself. No stuntman. How cool is that? This week on Steve's Real Hits, I give you the only X-rated movie to win Best Picture, and one of my all-time favorites, 1969's Midnight Cowboy.
I'm Joe Buck from Texas.
Enrico Rizzo from the Bronx.
And I'm gonna buy you a drink. What the hell do you think of that?
I don't mind if I do.
Why do you think I come all the way up here from Texas for? Well, I'm a hustler. You didn't know that?
You were gonna ask me for money? Huh?
Will you get out of here?
You gotta get yourself some kind of management.
Only vehicle.
Hey, I'm walking here. I'm walking here. Don't worry about that. Actually, that ain't a bad way to pick up insurance, you know.
In New York, no rich lady with any class at all buys that cowboy crap anymore.
Women like me, goddammit. Hell, the only one thing I've ever been good for is loving.
But for that service, I charge $20.
I happen to be his manager.
Okay.
I'll buy you his coffee, huh, please? I don't think I can walk anymore. You know what they do to you when they know you can't. When they find out that you can't walk.
I'll just tell him I don't go nowhere without my buddy here. You know what you gotta do, cowboy?
I'm scared. Where you going?
I gotta get a doctor.
No doctors, no cops.
You're sick, boy. You need a damn doctor.
Hey, just put me on a bus. I don't need you.
And the title song, Everybody's Talkin', written by Fred Neil, won a Grammy for Best Vocal Performance for Harry Nilsson. I love this movie. If you haven't seen it, you should. As I said, the film got an X rating from the Motion Picture Board, which was ridiculous even then. Till next week, I'm walking here. I'm walking here. Thanks for being with us. Next week, we go back to our discussion of some of the movies we've talked about earlier. All About Eve, Yankee Doodle Dandy, and Grapes of Wrath, as well as my favorite, Goodfellas, Cool Hand Luke, Paul Newman, how good. Yes, Hollywood can produce great movies. Next week on Bogart on Movies.